Welcome, champion entrepreneurs. We are live from the GoCEO studios where we talk to CEOs and founders and visionaries about their businesses, and more importantly, the characteristics and personal strategies of the man or the woman behind that business so we can better understand what led to such immense success. I am Corey Bergeron, your host. I'm a former national TV spokesperson for over 350 brands. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, a CEO, and a business coach. And we have an incredible segment for you today. It's going to feature Mr. Ron Gourley. We're going to be talking about building a company focused on what Ron calls nutritional intelligence. Ron is fascinating to chat with. I mean, he and I have talked for a long time. Once you get him rolling, it's like all this solid gold just pours out of him, and you can't stop being engaged and just hanging on every word. And if you've subscribed to past ideas of what nutrition looks like, most likely Ron's just going to sink that ship for you today. All right. So if you're watching this video on YouTube, make sure you click subscribe and the little bell just below this video screen so we know, or we can let you know when new videos are released. Now, before we introduce Ron, before we get started with today's interview, I'd like to welcome the founder of our sponsor, Board of Advisors, the world's greatest mastermind, Mr. Mike Calhoun, coming to us from the BA studios in Florida. Mike each week gives us his top three, which is 3 specific strategies or insights you should know to enhance your business or your entrepreneurial journey, your life. Mike, welcome.
Oh my gosh, I love being here. Look at this guy. Got an Ian on. I just saw Jed come on. Maureen, I can't wait to see it. Maureen and Lisa and I have a little ritual. We always sneak off and have a beer and a conversation, and these two crack me up like nobody's business at these events. But I wanted to share a couple things with you today. First off, hard work, right? Like, I think I would probably rather do 10 COVIDs than rebuild my team. And we talk about leadership and team leadership. It's easy to talk about, but it's a very difficult thing to do, to build a team, get them in sync and all running in the right direction. And ladies and gentlemen, with the advisement and the consulting and the direction of a lot of the individuals, even in BA, we have rebuilt this Board of Advisors team. And I got to tell you, it was a lot of hard work. But good things don't come easily for the most part. Usually, if it's too easy, everybody would be doing it. So I really want to encourage you. If you've got something in front of you that you're passionate about, Eric, you're in a new market. We've talked about certain things. Put the work in. It'll definitely be worth it. And think about this. Your competition is doing some sort of work. Are you outworking them, right? Are you putting in that extra effort, that extra strategy, which is my next word, to outperform the competition? Now, a lot of people think they're being strategic in their business when a lot of times they're just creating efficiencies or they're just working a little harder. And what I'd like to do is I'd really like to challenge you at this upcoming BA to understand the difference in strategy and planning or efficiencies or just putting in more effort, right? Strategy is what is going to make you special in your marketplace with your product, your platform, your service. And that's really what we're able to gain from these relationships like the ones that we get at Board of Advisors. So I've been on a couple of really beneficial strategy sessions here with Ann and Larry Yatch, with Eddie, Mike Citron. Like we've had some great success this year by really looking at things more strategically so that we can leverage relationships to get further faster, right? So in the real estate industry, obviously every deal can be different. And if you haven't spoken with gentlemen like Eric or RJ, and you're trying to go through a real estate transaction or start a real estate business, those are the type of individual, Lisa, Maureen, they can fast forward you from zero into a more competent strategic business, eliminating your hard work that you may have to do, right? So Relationships really is what it all comes down to. Invest in people, right? Invest in people, not things. And, right here, it's like a family reunion. We're coming up on our 6-year anniversary with Board of Advisors. And quite frankly, I mean, when you guys walk into that room, I know when Tara walks into that room, it's a big smile. Rana walks into that room, it's a big smile. It feels like family. Richard Mallion coming in, man, you guys just got this laugh that makes you want to giggle right along with them. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you. So don't be afraid to put in the hard work. Make sure you are really being strategic in your moves. It's all about chess. I was just on with a really large player out of Miami yesterday, and it felt like a chess game, even in that conversation with him. The individuals with experience understand strategy, and that's what I want you to get out of these meetings. And then, ladies and gentlemen, it's about relationships now, next, and never. Some people, maybe they're not great relationships, and we got to know how to carve that off. But there's those ones that we need to leverage now, and there are those the ones that we need to put that bun in the oven and invest in them first. And it always comes back in our favor. So I just want to encourage you with those bullets. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hand this back over to Corey, and then I'm literally going to take notes on Ron, because Ron was actually out to the BA headquarters, blew my mind. We met for about 3 or 4 hours here at the headquarters, and he was taking me through what they're doing and why it's so important, and why it actually can be kind of the future additive of a lot of the popular drinks that you're already a fan of. Ron, I'm looking forward to it, buddy, and I'm actually going to go get my notepad because I forgot it.
Thanks, Mike. All right. So listen, we crowdsource ideas from the Board of Advisors membership each week so that Mike can touch on those topics. So if you have something that you'd love to hear Mike talk about, the next time we do a GoCEO show 1 week from today, drop them into our chat box right now. And we actually have people on the Board of Advisors team monitoring the whole show, and they will go in and write those things down. Mike will take a look through them. He'll pick one, and then we'll bring it to you guys next week. All right. So we crowdsource those ideas. If you have them, drop them into chat. All right. Now, Mr. Ron Gourley. I'm really excited about this. I mean, Ron and I, we were chatting yesterday on the phone, and all we were doing was just kind of like brainstorming some of the things that we might talk about today. And I could have talked to the guy for hours. I mean, it was unbelievable, the quality of ideas and content that comes out of his mind. I look around your office there, Ron, and I didn't know that that's what a nutritional Einstein's office looks like. But so first, let me tell you a little bit about Ron. All right. So first of all, Ron, he worked with Dr. Joshua Lederberg. I mean, this is a Nobel laureate guy. He's commonly known as the father of genetics and artificial intelligence. Ron he's worked as a national director of marketing and sales for Fortune 100 companies. He has a commitment to finding natural remedies for a healthy life. And he's focused on active antimicrobial skincare, advanced wound care, OTC skincare, soil and water remediations, technologies for atopic skin conditions, nutraceuticals. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. He is now the CEO of TrendTech Bio. Ron, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So listen, Ron, first, just to, I've given people kind of a high level positioning, but I'd like to drill a little bit deeper. Tell us, what is TrendTech Bio and who do you work with?
All right, great. So TrendTech Bio is probably a culmination of 28 years of work, 10 of them in the 10 last years, we really kind of focused in more towards the nutraceutical side. But I began working on, from a TrendTech side, on what you call the nutritional intelligence versus artificial intelligence. So I tend to call them God says rules. In other words, there's things in nature. We're really made of nature. We're not made of synthetic molecules. So we look for answers in nature, and then we look how to magnify those to get the responses we're looking for. And TrendTech Bio is a company that's got 3 platforms. The first one is Curcumin Pro, which is what we're launching currently. And that is a technology platform going 3,000 years back. Of course, they didn't know when they were using turmeric root what they were doing with it, but it showed these healing qualities. And so fast forward it all through the 3,000 years, we now know what those molecules are, the metabolites, what they do, and then we know how to work with those to get the body to get the response we're looking for. So that the Curcumin Pro platform is there, and that's very exciting what we've done with that. People searched hard for it, and we figured it out, and we did it in a very creative way. The second platform is a line of products that will go under Life's Nutrition. That product line, Life's Nutrients, that product line is going to doctors only. It is a set of products. Dr. Kelsis, who will be joining me for the BA meeting coming up, we'll be talking about nutrition. With Dr. Kelsis, Dr. Arnett, several other PhDs, we put a line of products together very specifically designed around the disease and health issues today that people are facing, but we use natural-based technologies to do it. That line will be launching probably Q1 next year, doctors only. And the final one is a company called IQ for Life, which is a vertical inside of TrendTech Bio, which has to do with prenatal development. It has to do with research and science that Cornell University will be releasing this information. I'm working with the team and the company that is behind the nutrition, the micronutrient, choline, which is part of this. And it will shock everybody the amount of choline and DHA that a pregnant woman needs during the first 1,000, all the way through lactation and the first part of life, and what that baby pulls, and what a lack we have of the micronutrients and the DHA in the actual diet for the woman, for the baby, the development of the brain, the neurosystems, etc. Very well researched. They built some really brilliant little babies that have been tested out at Cornell University. So that IQ for Life will start with a product called Smart Start, and then we're going to move that into a whole line of products for cognitive development all the way through life. So from conception to the end of life, we'll be building products that deal with cognitive development and the needs you have during life for keeping your brain sharp. So that's
hands
TrendTech
down,
Bio.
I mean, this is not just, an enterprise. I mean, this is got to be a lifelong passion for you. I mean, you're investing in developing all of these different lines. I mean, I was only aware of Curcumin Pro, which I kind of had a little contact with about, 3 or 4 months ago. And that was it. I had no idea there was so much more to what TrendTech Bio is looking at right now. I mean, is this a passion project for you as well? I mean, it seems like it.
It is. And it goes beyond that, because I've really looked forward from the projects we're working on. I started some work 3 or 4 years ago that will transcend these projects and go into the next thing I want to get into after these get launched. And we can talk about that later, but it really has to do with what is the future of medicine? Where are we going with it? And what is the role of what we're going to call nutritional intelligence versus synthetic molecular chemistry and pharma, and the damage that it does. Now, don't get me wrong, there's good that it does, but there's tremendous damage that it's done. And so we're really looking at how we deal with that going forward. And there's exciting technologies that are going to play out on that.
Okay. So listen, let's rewind just a little bit here, because I want to understand what led you to the point where you were involved with nutraceuticals. So just kind of lay out your professional journey for our listener, for our viewer, so that they understand what led you to this point where you founded TrendTech Bio.
It's a great story. So I was at Pepsi. I left I left college. Corporate America was a good play. You learn a lot in corporate America. I fast tracked. It was exciting. I had a great career at Pepsi, got to do a lot of fun things. But I really started chemistry back when I was a freshman in high school. I was taking college level chemistry. And so I really liked chemistry. I liked physics. Got to college, thought I wanted to be a chemical engineer until I met some chemical engineers. I decided I didn't want to be a chemical engineer. It's really not. I do enjoy playing golf and entertaining and stuff, which is very different. So what I really found myself interested in is technologies, platforms and technologies. And what happened was I got involved with a new molecular science. I was introduced to it, left Pepsi. And that technology was linked me to Dr. Lederberg at the Rockefeller. And if anybody wants to look who this man was, probably one of the smartest scientists that ever lived in America. I mean, he's Linus Pauling quality. And Josh chaired the science board for the company that we started. It was involved in this new molecule. It's a tertiary amide acid hydrate, big word. But what it allowed us to do was take inherently unstable compounds and stabilize them into emulsions. What that meant was we built products that, for instance, could regrow tissue from the bone up in the human body, and you could eat the product. It was based on electromagnetic frequencies. For instance, if you look at tissue and you say, what's in there for your body? Well, there's vitamins and minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, antioxidants, complex carbohydrates, glycerols, all these things. Spent 2 years on microscopes, electron microscopes, trying to figure out what is the frequency that the neurons pick up. So as Josh said, evidently we did a pretty good job because we were able to build tissue, stop tissue from breaking down, even from bone up on a diabetic. So the reality was we did that technology, and from the same molecular chemistry, we built active antimicrobial technologies for skin. So we built an emulsion, a little lotion that you could put on your hands. And I won't go through it. It's really fun to talk about, but it takes a little time. But it was able to literally go clean, disinfect, build a molecular platform on your skin, put vitamins back into your skin, and then protect it for actually 12 hours. But the FDA said we could only say 4 hours. But the reality of it was we out-invented the science of what was there. And you could put this on, wouldn't wash off. So we keep your skin healthy while it was protecting it. And within a millionth of a second of contacting anything, it would blow the cell wall of whatever it was you contacted, so it couldn't grow or actually multiply on your skin.
All right, now wait a minute. Hold on. You're saying, first of all, you're saying it protects the skin. In what way does it protect the skin? And then define for me what blowing the cell wall means. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds really impressive.
So your skin is negatively charged. Right. So we had a positively charged, it gets really technical, because we had a positively charged protonated hydrogen ion. It would go down, it would literally bond to the gaps between your cells called corneocytes. And it was a gap there, and it's the hydrogen ion then changed the platform, because now you had a monomolecular platform, and we could build surfactants on the top of it. So your skin was protected underneath, it could breathe and perspire, that we had cleaned and disinfected and built it. And so the last thing that formed was semi-permeable PVP. Plastic. So the surfactants were allowed to leach out through the PVP film. Your skin was electrostatically bonded. So in other words, we used the electrical charge of the skin to build the platform. So the only thing that took it off was time. The cells would have to basically release, which is what cells do. And so with the surfactants, which think about soap, guys, but think about different charged surfactants, they're sitting up there on the top. And when you touch a bacteria or a virus, surfactants poke a hole right through the outer wall of the cell. So once you've poked a hole through the outer cell of it, it can only die. It can't do anything else. It can only die. On the front end of it, we had nonoxynol 9 and Tritenex 100. So when we initially put it on your hands, it literally went down and blew anything that was on your hands, it instantly killed it. And then that was all pushed away and it built. Can you think about, we were so far in front of everybody, and that was our problem. That's one of my lessons in entrepreneurial side is don't get too far in front of everybody. We were so far in front of it. Can you imagine when COVID hit, and we talked about this when we built the product, that this was coming? If you look at Letterberg and you look at his teachings and what he taught, and he taught that this is coming. Now, gain of function was not what he was talking about. He was talking about natural progression, not man-made. However, it still happened. So having a product like that would have been hugely different than people putting alcohol in your hands, which lasts all of about 10 to 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It. But the worst part is if you put alcohol on your hands, for everybody out there, you just killed all of your good flora. So your normal protective skin system that your body has for protecting you, you just killed it, which means when the alcohol is gone, the next thing you touch is going to colonize on your skin because you have no protection. So it's one of the biggest faults with alcohols or things that do that instant kill, is that you do have a natural protective system, which means soap and water is your best bet always, and rather than going ahead and disinfecting and just killing that natural defense system. It was a fun part of my life, spent a lot of time on those technologies, learned a lot about nutrition, because we learned a lot about frequencies, how nutrition is taken up by the cells, how the body does that, which kind of led into the future of the projects I worked on.
All right. So one of the things I want to kind of go back to, you kind of breezed over this really quick, but you said you didn't want to get too far ahead of your competition. What is that lesson that you learned there? I mean, I've never heard that before. Usually an entrepreneur would say, man, if I can leave the competition, 1,000 miles behind me, I'm in. Like, let's do it. But you're saying, no, you want to keep that gap a little smaller, at least in your particular industry. Do you think that's universal? Explain that a little more.
I think what it really gets into is you can have technologies that are too far in front. In other words, we were so far in front of what was out there that it's hard to get people to transition, if you will. So thinking about what does the industry know about wound care? Wound care, just between all of us here, it's archaic, what we do in wound care. What we developed was light years ahead of it, easy, inexpensive, but you're breaking rice bowls. If you make it inexpensive, the pharmaceutical companies that own all the insurance deals on the inside the healthcare systems, they don't want to see you. We literally went into hospitals and wound care centers, healed wounds in, let's say, bone up, stage 4, you're going to cut the person's leg off. We'd heal them in about 72 days. And they literally told me to my face that they could not bring that technology in. And this was the reason why, because they would lose money on amputations. And amputations was a cash cow for them. So you can get yourself
listen, when it comes to healthcare, you don't want to believe stuff like that, but we all know, we're all aware of what big money is in healthcare and what it takes to keep that monster rolling. And that's heartbreaking.
Alcohol. The guy who is the manager for the, buying the alcohol, and they got all this alcohol all over the hospital. And no matter if you sit down with somebody who's in charge of the basically disease control within the hospital, so you have these people that are over this, you can explain to them all day long, and they're like, alcohol's cheap. No matter the fact that this product actually protected from Clostridium difficile, protected their employees better, saved them from latex allergies, latex sensitivities on gloves. It didn't matter. We were kind of far in front of it. You get something like what's happened with COVID, and now you can get people to listen more because now the costs are incredibly high and real. But we were that far in front, even on the wound care side, that we were a little too far out in front.
Even being able to bring the doctors along who should intimately understand this was an uphill battle for you. I understand. Yeah. Okay. So listen, let's go back to curcumin for just a minute. Okay. This is your big initiative that you're doing right now. And the first time I heard about it, I'm like, oh, I love that spice. I put it on my Indian food. It's delicious, right? That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about cumin. We're talking about curcumin. It's a completely different animal. Please explain to us, there's a lot of buzz around this right now. What is curcumin? What does it do? What's the design of your product?
Right. So turmeric, which is the Indian spice that's used on the food, right? So you have this root, it's called turmeric, and that was really started the research between China and India. It goes way back. But the reality is only about 5% of that root is curcumin or curcuminoids. And curcuminoids are these molecular structures that do what I call the heavy lifting. So when you're looking at why is it so important, why did people spend all these years and money, lots of studies on curcumin, turmeric, but mostly curcumin for its qualities, is because every disease that's out there starts with inflammation. So if you have a natural anti-inflammatory that you can take on a daily basis that defends basically your body or boosts your immune system to defend against inflammation, you're a step ahead of it. Now, if you took an anti-inflammatory that's a pharmaceutical drug, you will destroy your liver, your kidneys in no time. You could end up with pancreatitis, all the things that you don't want. So having it natural, that was the big thing. But it also is a super anti-inflammatory, and it's also a chelator on certain heavy metals. So that's what everybody's looking for. And so the curcumin side of it, when you get it, both turmeric and curcumin have one massive problem. They're what's called hydrophobic, which means they don't like water, right? So they're not soluble in water. You're water, I'm water. Our bodies are mostly 60% water. Our vital organs are up in the high 70% water. So if something is water soluble, it's bioavailable. And that becomes a very big thing because people talk about bioavailability. But I'm going to tell you right now, if it's not soluble, and specifically not soluble in solvents, but soluble in water, you get very little into the body or into the cells, which is your ultimate goal, is to assimilate into a cell. So what we did was, this was really interesting, but working with our science team, and we were working on another project, which was on eczema and psoriasis on spagyric technologies, which great technology. But when we were doing it, we started working on this, and the reality was curcumin loves protein. If you touch it, if you get some and you touch it, your skin turns instantly yellow. And so there's this aha moment where you go, wow, this stuff loves protein. We ended up taking, and the patents that are held on this is any protein, we can take the curcumin and envelop it with a protein. So now it's protected and it's inside of a protein. And here's what happens. It's kind of like a Trojan horse, if you want to think of it that way. So now when you take it, what was once incredibly bitter and horrible tasting, which is why it's in capsules, now is taste neutral. It tastes like, let's say, a whey protein isolate, which is a little sweet, neutral tasting. When you take it, if I put it into water, if you will, it's about 42 times more soluble than curcumin or turmeric. That's a magnitude of 42. So now I have something that I can suspend in liquids, and I can keep it suspended, and I can flavor it. I can make it taste pretty much any way I want to make it taste. And what happens is, this is what happens when you take it. Your body, instead of the turmeric or the curcumin going into your digestive tract and running all the way through to try to get to a liver pass to get it in, now it takes it, and right at the top of your small intestine is where your body says, hey, your protein, come across. So at the top of the small intestine, it's pulled across, the body digests the protein, and as it digests it, those are amino acids that are linked together. As it digests it, the bond between those amino acids grab the curcumin and shuttle it right into the bloodstream. And we go through the GI, we go through the blood-brain barrier, where turmeric and curcumin cannot break either one of those. So now you have an all over body anti-inflammatory activity going on. So it's maybe a little technical for people, but the reality is we took something, this is the interesting part. Your GI and your blood-brain barrier are there to protect you from protein. So we use protein as a shuttle, but as it digested, a part of that was the shuttle that just took it all the way through the body. So now we're able to get you great tasting products for your pets, chewables, gummies, drinks, all those things. You can have capsules if you'd like. We have those as well. But we're not limited to a capsule because of the taste issues. We do it for convenience for patients or for clients. So that's kind of where we went. And Dr. Kelser, so I think, is listening. We'll be talking about this at the next BA workshop. We'll be talking a little bit more about just how beneficial that is a total body system for you on a daily basis.
So, what's really fascinating about this is your background is in marketing and sales, and yet you have become so educated on the science side of what you're doing. You can take a look, you can walk into a laboratory and say, that bitter stuff that nobody wants to actually drink. We need to create something that people actually want to drink, and I know how to market it. I know how to sell it. I'm assuming that's part of the reason that you're just a really great complement to this team, is because of that background. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, that's fair. I think one of my things I like to say is I like to take a look at technologies that are out there. Sometimes I pull threads from different industries, from different things I know, and I put them together into something new. Or sometimes it's just somebody's got something really great and they are clueless on how to get it to the market. And so we'll look at those technologies and we'll say, hey, we have a platform we're going to move that into, and we'll take it from there. So it's kind of a combination, but you're right. I get really excited about looking at technologies and what they can do, especially if they're in the natural side of science. And then I basically figure out, okay, grab this scientist and this guy, and how do we boost it? How do we get it to get a really good performance and get that clinical dosing level rather than just an average level?
So if I were to ask you, as the leader behind this team, what do you believe are your greatest strengths that you bring to that team? And then what do you feel are kind of like they're your gaps and you have to backfill those with really qualified people in the team? What does that look like? How does your role fit in with everyone else as far as your skill set and theirs?
I think if you talk to people around me, I'm very visionary. I can look at things easily 5 to 10 years out. And I see them very clearly. I can look at something and go, this is it. So from that, I have, from my past, I've got skill sets from taking something from concept through to, let's say, market. But in between there, you need the strength of, I need my operations teams. I need people who, although I can go do a contract manufacturing contract, it's not something I want to go do. So I need people that understand contract manufacturing, labeling, regulatory, all of the pieces that make it work. And one of my business partners, Stacey Allensworth, who's been with me like 18 years on all these projects, she'll tell you about all the companies. But in all of those, she is probably one of the best operation experts, administratively keeps everything together. And then from the other standpoint, we use our PhDs, and we have a team of PhDs, MDs, and natural medicine docs. And I use those guys as sounding boards to help me understand certain things that maybe I don't understand what the implication might be physiology wise. Or the other side of it is I'm looking for what we're doing right now. I'm looking for invention. So I'm taking something and saying, okay, I want to innovate this. So what are we going to do with it? And we're doing certain innovation on that now. So I think that I really very good at vision, very good at getting teams together. And then from there, I really need that operation excellence and administrative excellence, because I can get out in front of people pretty quick. So we got 3 verticals right now. So we got to make sure that everybody stays, I don't get in front of them and frustrate them.
All right. So when we're talking about getting in front of people and being a visionary, tell me, what do you believe is the next big innovation in natural medicine?
I can tell you it's going to be peptides. The biggest thing coming is, so peptides are proteins, and somebody says polypeptides, which is really what I'm going to talk a little bit about. Polypeptides are just many peptides, but what they are is, imagine all the proteins that are in the universe. Just they're all out there. And you have an ability to go into each one of those proteins and select the sequence of amino acids that you want from that. You start to pull them from these different proteins, and you link these new amino acids into a chain. And you can get these polypeptides to, in the human body, do amazing things, absolutely amazing things. And so the innovation that you're going to see that excites me the most are polypeptides, and the ability for us to manufacture those is called recombinant technologies, where you basically you build this new arm, if you will, this protein, you link it onto like an E. coli, not the bad guys, the good guys. You link it on, you grow them up in a bioreactor, and then you clip the leg off, you harvest it, and you can do that very cost effectively. It's a little costly on the front end, but the back end is amazing. So, we have some polypeptides right now that really excite me, that's part of my future that I want to bring out. And they deal a lot in skincare technologies and things that we can do with those. And they're all based off of understanding what proteins they went in and said, okay, I want those aminos, these aminos. So it's exciting. Watch the world of peptides, specifically polypeptides, and the companies that are involved in those.
When we see products come out that have these polypeptides in them, what kind of results are we going to be looking for from those products? What are they going to be doing for us on a daily basis? Will it be ingestibles, skin creams? What are we looking for?
Both. You're going to see nano delivery systems through skin very shortly. It's already developed. I was working on some of that not too long ago. But you're going to see the ability to take a peptide, nano size it, rub it right on your skin, and drop it right through. So ingestible, not so much. Some injectables, basically transdermal or intradermal delivery systems, sublingual delivery systems. You'll see those. A lot of it will be in regenerative medicine. You'll see a lot of it now being used in regenerative medicines. And so that's kind of where it's kind of got a home right now, but it will accelerate from there. But you'll see a lot of peptide or polypeptide technologies right now in that world.
Okay. Let's go back to the business side of things for just a moment here. Every entrepreneur, as they're building their business, of course, has stumbling blocks that some fall in their path. Some of them they throw in their own path. I want to know, in your opinion, what is the biggest mistake you ever made in growing your company? How did you get around it? What did the strategy look like?
Well, one of the biggest ones was being too nice. One of the biggest ones, we were in building the curcumin technologies. We were working with a third-party contractor, and had taken this opportunity to them that takes specific equipment, and we had purchased the equipment. We're going to have them operate within their system, and they got to know too much. And I had contracts in front of them, they kept pushing back, and then they tried to steal the technology, the equipment, and everything. And what happened was we sued them and got out of it. But what it did is it killed this technology platform for about 2.5 years before we got it back up and running. So we had invested, we had a lot of stuff going. So for me, it's really, it's trust but verify. It's really getting better people around me when I'm going into some of these deals, making sure that I've really done a lot of the homework before we put equipment or put technology platforms in front of people. So that was probably the biggest lesson. And one of the other ones was don't get too far over my skis. Make sure that when I'm as a visionary that my team is with me and I'm not too far out in front of it.
I get it. As I interview CEOs, the visionary aspect of many business leaders is that, they're so 5-10 years down the road as, this is where we're going and this is how we're going to get there. And we need to make this happen right now. And then trying to bring everyone else along and say, no, really, you guys, we need to be going this way. No, I know everyone's been going that way, but now we need to go this way, and it takes a real leader to be able to say, okay, now I can't just have the vision, but now I've got to get the people to come along and I've got to make it palatable, so I totally get that. I hear that a lot. And you're certainly an example of that, Ron. Listen, I could talk and talk and talk to you. I absolutely love interviewing you. This has been a lot of fun. If people wanted to find out more about you or about TrendTech Bio, where do they go?
Well, for the front end of this, curcuminpro.com will be a site. It's being worked on right now, by the way, because we're doing the launch. So we've got building funnels. So sometimes it's on and off as we get this going. But really, Curcumin Pro is where you're going to learn more about me. I just met with some guys yesterday to bring my LinkedIn profiles up. I've intentionally kept them low for a lot of reasons, but I'm about to, stuff we talked about, I'm about to start to let people know more about that background. So you'll see that probably in the next month, you'll start to see a whole different profile show up where I actually do let people know what we're working on, what I've been doing. So that would be it. We have a big campaign coming up on Indiegogo. I want everybody to know that. So November 2nd, we're launching our chocolates in curcumin. We have a really amazing, for everybody who was at the last BA meeting, I handed out a prototype chocolate for everybody to try. And
I've had them. They are delicious. As a matter of fact, some of the members were coming up after the meeting and asking, like, where can I get more of that? Like, it's so delicious. It's almost like they don't even care about the nutritional benefits. It's just the chocolate. It was so good.
Well, we have the line is called Choco Fusion, and Choco Fusion. So the first two coming out will be just a dark chocolate. It's a 60% cacao. It'll have 300 milligrams of curcumin pro in it. They're absolutely delicious. They use allulose as a sweetener, which for everybody who doesn't know, it's a plant-derived sweetener. It is a very low glycemic level, so it's safe for diabetics, etc. They're delicious. So my favorite though is the mochaccino. And this one is organic cacao, organic coffee, mint. So imagine those together. And then it's going to be with 300 milligrams of curcumin pro. And you'll see those are the first ones that launch. You'll see us coming out on Indiegogo. Really ask everybody to support us when you see that stuff come out. Get on there, buy some chocolates, buy a round of golf with me and Kevin Harrington. That would be a lot of fun for anybody who wants to do that one. I'm happy to come play. So that's a big piece of where we're going to introduce people about who we are. So we're excited about that. And then from that, we're going to have a big Amazon launch following that. We're going to really kick that up, and then funnels after that. And then our long-term vision for everybody is really to be pre-retail, to really do that infomercial 90-second super beats type model where you go on, you get to tell a little bit of a story, because our products are so dynamically different than all of that stuff you see on the retail shelf that is basically misleading as heck in terms of really what's bioavailable and not. So we're going to do a little bit of that before we actually get into a large retail model.
Mike, I want to hear from you. I mean, this was a fascinating conversation we had with Ron. What were your top 2 takeaways from what Ron had to say today?
I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I took a full page of notes here, and I've gotten to know Ron pretty well, pretty fast. Ron is brilliant, and what may surprise you is his PI index is a persuader. For somebody who's so technical, and for them to be a persuader at their core, he's Ron, you're a little bit of a weird breed, buddy, but we like you a lot here at BA. That's probably why you fit in so well. So the first takeaway is timing. You can be too early. And I shared a very similar experience with a technology that we had in the real estate industry. We were too early, and there's a big reason, or a good reason. It's called the bleeding edge.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not always winning when you're too early, and it can get a little bloody when it comes to bleeding cash, right? Too far ahead really equates to an adoption issue. So think about electric cars, right? You were too far ahead. The doctors weren't adopting the, can we admit Reggie Baxter, please? The doctors weren't adopting, the industry was, kind of getting their head around it. So it's an adoption issue, and it's an education issue sometimes when we're a little far ahead. So we always should have that IndyCar development, like, how far out there can we be? But in our market placement or posturing, it's about timing and what is relevant. Still ahead of the curve a little bit. What is relevant and will be easily consumed and understood, right? Then there's another one. I think I got this out of another call as well, but I just want to reiterate: trust and verify. We're all big boys and girls, and I think we build a lot of trust between each other, but I think everybody still needs to verify before they, get too deep or throw too much time, energy, revenue into something. Always trust and verify. You said get the right people around you, right? Was part of one of your challenges in just moving so fast. I think a lot of times we get people around us, but did we get the right people around us, right?
Correct.
These a lot of these decisions that we're making on a daily basis as the head of our companies and organizations, they're big, and they have big benefits, or they have big price tags, right? So getting the right people around you. And the last thing, I know you wanted two, Corey, but I never want to disappoint. Be careful in getting out too far over your skis. Sometimes we get there's Ian, I see you shaking your head, buddy, getting all amped up, and we get real passionate about something, and we get too far out over our skis, and that can be a little bit of a recipe for disaster. That balances well with trusting and verifying, but we also want to make sure that we keep our entrepreneurial emotions in check, because a lot of us want to do a lot of things real fast, and sometimes slower is faster, as my wife tends to love to remind me. But those are my three takeaways, and I really enjoyed the call. Ron, you're brilliant. Did we want to introduce Dr. Harvey?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Harvey's on the line here. So do you want me to do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do that. Let's hear from Dr. Harvey.
Before I do, so Dr. Kelsis, Harvey and I we've known each other for 30 years. Harvey was part of the Active Technologies, so he knows all about the work we did on active antimicrobials, wound care, skincare technologies. We've known each other a long time. I consider him a mentor and an incredibly close friend. For all of you that get to know Harvey, or maybe met him a little bit last time when we were there, we were together at BA, Harvey is now going to be becoming part of BA. So we'll be doing some stuff together. But Dr. Kelsis, and we could talk a little bit more, is an amazing encyclopedia of knowledge on natural medicines. But don't let that fool you. He's also incredibly well researched on what's going on in pharma as well. So he knows what the comparatives are and how to work with those. But from genome codes of plants to formulation, Dr. Kelsis is not only my mentor, he's on our medical board, and he is an incredibly close friend of myself and my family. So Harvey, you're on.
Ron, my big concern is that the products that we're competing against are so skillful at lying about what they do.
Mhm.
And I don't know how we're going to cut through the fog of war, this economic war we're in, to get people to understand the truth. The curcumin products, for example, are so much more effective, so much more. I'm talking about not 50%, not 100%, 2,000% more effective because they're absorbable, whereas the other curcumin products on the market aren't absorbable, or if they are absorbable, they're absorbed because they add products to them that damage the liver or otherwise have adverse health effects. So how do we market our products which really work for serious health issues, when in the health food stores you see all this garbage out there and they're lying about what they do?
Right.
Harvey, that's an awesome question. Awesome
We'll be
question.
addressing that.
And Ron, I want to hear from you, but then
Right.
I'd love to open that up to Q&A and get participation from our membership and hear what everyone else has to say as well. But go ahead, Ron.
So what Harvey just brought up is part of our new marketing platform and how to simplify that message for the consumer. And we've simplified it down to what I started with. Solubility equals bioavailability. That's science. You're water-based. If you're not water soluble, you're not bioavailable. The big piece is, do you get into the cell assimilation? All of our marketing, you're going to see this coming out in our new videos, and you're going to see it in all the stuff we're going to do. It's going to be really simple. Explain to people, if it's not water soluble, it's not going in the body. Trying to get science simplified down and not getting into the complexity of it. So Harvey's thing is, it's really simple. As a matter of fact, I'm doing solubility studies right now. You just take the products, open them up, put them in water, they sit on the top. They're not doing anything in your body. You take Curcumin Pro, open it up, it just starts to diffuse down and through the product. And so we're doing that. We're trying to figure out the simplest way to get those messages across. And we'll be doing a lot of campaigning around that simplicity, where people can just take their own product at home and open it up and go, oh my gosh, it's not doing anything. And it's not. So we're trying to teach them the lie between the label and the truth behind what the body needs.
Hey, Ron, thank you so much for being with us today for GoCEO. I really appreciate you just bringing your knowledge and your expertise and just giving us some insight into your business and you personally. Thank you so much.
Well, my closing comment is, I want a recording of the opening of this where you talk about me so I could play it for my wife, because I'm unclear that she feels the same way. However, I'm looking forward to the BA meeting, guys. We are super excited. Harvey and I will be there. We have some exciting things to show you. And I think everybody will love the workshop. If you enjoy this, you'll love what we're going to do in the workshop for you. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Corey, for everything that you've done for us.